Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban recently did a rally for Kamala Harris. I don't understand how all of these guys are starting to really get in her camp. But Fox News wanted to point out some things that Mark Cuban said about Kamala Harris, and it was specifically about the migrant crisis in an interview that he had with CNN. Check it out.
The economy, an issue. Jobs, an issue. The border, an issue. Last week, listen to what Kamala Harris supporter Mark Cuban, the guy from Shark Tank and a billionaire as well, how he explained why so many people are in this country after having entered illegally.
Look, here's my opinion. I'm not speaking for the campaign with this. Yeah. I thought their hearts were too big when Joe came into office, that they didn't know how many people would cross the border, and it got away from them. But they figured it out. They learned.
Big heart.
This just proves, just because people are billionaires, just because they may own an NBA team, just because they are on Shark Tank, does not necessarily mean that they know what they're talking about. This man says, and he's one of their biggest supporters, Mark Cuban says that the reason that the border crisis and the immigration laws were completely removed, over 94 of them that Trump had established in order to keep the United States of America safe, and the reason that they sued Texas, remember, they sued Texas in order to keep the borders open. Let me see if I can find something. I might be able to find it really, really quickly. They sued Texas in order to keep the borders open. I want y'all to remember that. They sent out the National Guard in order to remove the razor wire that Texas had put up.
Now to Texas, where a border battle between the Biden administration and the governor is now escalating in a courtroom. The Department of Justice is now suing the state of Texas for putting barriers in the Rio Grande River to stop migrants from crossing into the United States. ABC's Faith Abube has the latest.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott defiant as the Justice Department follows through on its threat to take legal action to force the state to remove these red buoys from the Rio Grande River. The DOJ filing a civil complaint in federal court against Texas, claiming it illegally installed the 1,000-foot-long floating barrier without obtaining the required federal authorization. But the governor, in his response, unyielding, writing in a letter to President Biden, quote, "Texas will see you in court, Mr. President." Abbott insisting on Fox News that the barriers serve a critical purpose.
Working together, these devices have turned away and repelled tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people who try to enter into the United States illegally.
But the Biden administration is accusing the governor of playing political games, saying unlawful border crossings have actually dropped more than 30% since May, after the expiration of Title 42, crediting the president's policies for bringing down those numbers to the lowest they've been in more than 2 years.
And what you see the governor doing is dangerous and unlawful, and it's actually hurting the process.
According to the DOJ, the barrier...
Remember that. They said that what Texas is doing in order to prevent people from crossing over into the borders illegally was hurting the process. What process? This is on behalf of the Biden administration.
Been in more than 2 years.
And what you see the governor doing is dangerous and unlawful, and it's actually hurting the process.
This is 2 years ago right here.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is clashing with the Biden administration over key immigration policies. He authorized state officials to arrest migrants who cross the border illegally and bring them back to ports of entry. Camila Montoya Galvez is here with us in Studio 57 to break this all down. Camila, it's good to see you. So the federal government has the power to enforce immigration law. Does Governor Abbott have the authority to order actions like this?
It's unclear, Glad. As you very well underscored, the enforcement of U.S. immigration law is a federal responsibility. U.S. law gives federal officials the power to arrest, detain, deport, give asylum to, or otherwise process migrants who are accused of federal immigration violations. And in a 2012 ruling, the Supreme Court partially struck down an Arizona law that expanded that state's ability to penalize and arrest migrants living in the country illegally, and said that the federal government has broad, undoubted power over U.S. immigration policy.
All right, so now that we know that, right, it's weird to sit here and listen to Mark Cuban say something like this.
Look, here's my opinion. I'm not speaking for the campaign with this.
Yeah.
I thought their hearts were too big when Joe came into office, that they didn't know how many people would cross the border, and it got away from them. But they figured it out. They learned.
First, what did they figure out? Secondly, why are they still blaming Trump while at the same time Mark Cuban, who has a direct line to the Vice President and President of the United States of America, is saying that their hearts was too big and it just got away from them? Is that why when they first got into office that they undid the policies that Trump had implemented, all 94 of them? And when they were running, Biden specifically said that he wouldn't build he would absolutely open up the border and he wouldn't build another inch of border wall to protect us, the United States of America, and to enable border agents to do their job safely, while at the same time they was processing millions and millions and millions of migrants into this country over the last 3.5 years from day one. Now, we had 3 feet, no check, 6 feet, no check. We couldn't even get into an elevator with each other. We couldn't even get into an elevator with each other. We couldn't open up our businesses. We couldn't leave our homes. Y'all was over there fighting for toilet paper, the whole 9 yards. And they just opened up the border for anybody to come in. And it's all because what? Oh, they just had a big heart.
Learned.
Big hearts.
Well, I mean, Mark Cuban is somebody who's vehemently anti-Trump. He
Trump
is desperate that he can't believe that Trump is on the cusp of getting reelected. He is now trying to counter Elon Musk. Obviously, that is the biggest reach I've ever heard from an intelligent person in the history of man.
Not just
My heart is too big, so I let murderers and criminals in.
Well, not just an intelligent person. You live in Dallas, Texas. Okay? You live in Texas, the epicenter of this crisis. There's not even a Democrat in Dallas, Texas, that is sympathetic with the administration. Yes. I mean, where do you live and who are the people that you're talking to on a day-to-day basis?
You know what grates me about this? Okay, Kamala's heart is too big. Well, my heart is big. And in 2021, when I saw a report that these migrant children, who I have a deep passion for, they were being put in facilities eating bloodied raw chicken with feathers coming out of it. They were on suicide watch lists. And one little girl prayed, "I pray God hears me because no one is hearing me right now." If you're Kamala Harris and your heart's too big, you go to that emergency intake facility. Right. You see those migrant children who I want to help, who I have a heart for, but she did not. So don't give me this crap about a heart being too big, Mark Cuban.
But let's finish this up. We also know that your heart's too big. If I'm with the Harris campaign, hey, Mark, stop helping. Right. That does not help. J.D. Vance saw that and said this.
But look, we also have to deport people, not just the bad people who came into our country, but people who violated the law coming into this country. We've got to be willing to deport them. And I think, by the way, of course, you can be humane about this, you can be compassionate about this, but I completely reject the argument that Kamala Harris's open border, which has led to 320,000 missing children, that has led to 11 and 12-year-old girls being sex trafficked by Mexican drug cartels. That is not compassionate. Having a border is compassionate for American citizens and for everybody else, too.
You know, I really like J.D. Vance, especially after he took Tim Walz through the ringer. But, I mean, that is your people. That is the people that you advocated for, and that's the people who you want to become president of the United States of America.